The word get is a verb. The dictionary defines it as receiving or having possession, use, or enjoyment of, coming to a specified place, arriving, reaching, and lastly, to succeed, to become enabled, or to be permitted. So with all that said, did you get it? Good. Welcome to Get the Podcast.
You better get it while the getting's good. It won't be long until I'm gone in all likelihood. Misinformed is an excuse, be the engine that could. I know my roots, I know my rights, and still misunderstood. I'm getting to it.
Hey, what's up, people? It's your friendly neighborhood Negro, JC. And Get the Pod is a micro pod where I give my 2 cents, a couple quarters, and a few dollars on some hot button issues in not only the Black community, but the overall global community. All of the episodes will be under 20 minutes with the goal of, hopefully, getting you to the point of fruitful and meaningful conversations with those in your immediate friend groups and circles. So, you got it now?
Yep.
You get it yet?
Think so.
Good. Let's go. What's up, overthinkers? Excuse me. Why do I keep saying overthinkers? Y'all ain't overthinkers no more. Y'all tend to overthink, but y'all my neighbors. And y'all my neighbors because we have these neighborly conversations, right? And so today's conversation, neighbors, is going to be on the reason why I don't open my goddamn mouth when it comes to talking to people about religion and certain things. And I do open my mouth when it comes to certain other things is because, all right, just not tooting my own horn or nothing like that, but I think if you've heard any of the previous recordings, then you know that I operate at a very high wavelength and I operate at a very high frequency. And when I say this, I just mean basically it's just saying I'm a learned individual about the shit, right? Like I understand myself, I understand who I am. Well, I have a understanding of the foundation of what makes me me. And, you know, I constantly add and improve and change because God has changed, right? And I realize that if I am a change agent, then I myself am God, or a variation of such. And even that, that was triggering to some of y'all. But please continue to listen because they don't get nothing else but a firing squad. You about to be lit the fuck up. So, all right. The thing about it is, for me to have intelligent conversation regarding esoteric and abstract ideas, such as religion, it requires the person that I'm in conversation with, right? You have to be, I am on level 33, right? I need you to at least be on level, let's say 25. Before we can even begin to have a conversation on what makes things, right? Because when we talk about religion in and of itself is really, it's a system of beliefs. And a human being's beliefs will always supersede what a fact is, what science is, what theory is. The way in which a human being thinks and believes dictates the ways in which they interact with the world and the things in it. We can just say white supremacy and all of the falsehoods that it supports. And if you are a fan of white supremacy, you should really just turn this shit the fuck off because you're going to have a nigga, a darkie speaking some shit to you that's going to blow your mind. So if you are a white supremacist, if you are David Duke, or Donald Trump or one of his supporters, I suggest you stop listening now. Or else stand your ass right in the middle of the firing squad, because bitch, you about to be triggered as fuck. All right, so yes, for me to talk to a person about things that are not common, it requires us to start at the back instead of the front, right? So when I say that, I mean belief colors theory, changes fact for the individual, right? That's not how I operate at all, because you're subverting the pyramid, if you will. You're starting from the top and going down. You have to start from the bottom and go up. So what I need you to do is start with fact, and then we go into theory, and then we go into belief, right? But we have to have common ground. The way that a person believes will differ very greatly based on the person, based on their unique human experience, right? So beliefs are beliefs. They're like an asshole and a mouth. Everybody got them. But now facts aren't so malleable. They're not so changeable. 1 + 1 will always equal 2. Cold will always be cold. Hot will always be hot. You know what I'm saying? Hard is hard, soft is soft. These are things that we have come to accept inside of our modern world, in our universe, to be true, right? Energy is neither born nor created, it is simply changes shape and form, right? These are things that are absolute. They do not change. And as we know it, as we know the universe, as we know the multiverse, like, that doesn't happen. It will never happen. It's a subversion of the things, right? It's a subversion of the 10th and the 11th dimension, right? And so even when I just said that, y'all are like 10 and 11 dimensions. Yes, they're probably even more than that, but that's just that's just where I stop at, because I don't need to know anything else past that right now. I'll probably get into it later, but 10 and 11 is pretty much all I need right now. I can't comprehend anything past 11 right now. And that's at the 33rd degree, bitch. I'm high up. Most of y'all at 3 and 4. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when talking about complex, esoteric, and abstract ideas, such as religion, it takes you working backwards to forwards and not forwards to backwards. It takes you dealing with fact, going to theory, and then belief, not starting at belief, then working your way back into theory and going into fact. Because if you start with belief, belief colors the other two. But if you start with facts, things that are, have been, and will always be, if you start there, then we can get to the truth. And that's all I'm saying. Like, this is why I don't talk. When I think about, when we talk about and we have this discussion in this country, around the world, surrounding trans rights, right? I can't do it, because people are starting with belief. People are starting with the belief that, trans people aren't human. And it's like, no, they're very much human. If anything, trans people are a higher level of human than you are, because they exist simultaneously in a world that doesn't want them, right? If anything, trans people are this higher level of dimensional being, encased still in a 3-dimensional being. We're not talking about anything that's godly. We're just saying that they are in tune with forces, ideals, spirits, energies that you simple motherfuckers can never understand. Trans people exist inside of a world that is completely sidestepped of the world that white people have built, right? That white men, that the patriarchy, that white supremacy is built. And so when you start with the basics, where trans people are people being human, humans being, you, me, whoever's listening, when we start there, then we can work our way up. We can go into theory. We can go into belief, right? But when you start with belief, the belief that trans people aren't human, that they're lesser than, or whatever, then it becomes dangerous, because we see how working from top down allowed white people, white men, to completely subvert the natural order of things inside of our world. And this is why everything is breaking down. The world is literally killing itself, because we've killed it. Because anything built on a lie can never stand. A house of cards will always blow at the slightest wind, because it has no true foundation. The foundation of white supremacy and patriarchy, all of these things were built on beliefs. They were not built on fact. They were not built on truth. They were created out of purely thin air by a motherfucker that believed them and put them into the world as truth. And this is the reason why I do not talk to most people regarding certain things, because it's just, even like when I talk to people about Jesus, I'm like, Jesus did not exist in the way that you think Jesus existed. Jesus didn't exist. If anything, if Jesus did exist, he was not a person, he was a collective, right? Because I told this example once before. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're not talking about one specific Black life. We're not talking about Black men. We're not talking about Black women. We're not talking about Black trans people. We're not talking about Black queer individuals. We're talking about Black lives in general, because the consensus has been for too long that Black lives do not matter, even though we know it to be different, because if it was not for Black people, humanity would not exist. And that is the thing. That is what I'm talking about when we say white supremacy has subverted and perverted the natural order of things that we know to be true, right? We start at the fact, Black Lives Matter. Then we go to the theory, aren't we all Black? And then we go to the belief, that all lives matter, right? But you see how this works? You see how we have to go backwards and not forward? Because if you say all lives matter, then you say, what about this? No, fuck all that. Jesus probably existed as a collective of humans that were fighting against the oppression of the Roman Empire, because Jesus was a revolutionary. And so, like, Jesus was essentially a person that was killed by the state. Jesus was a black man that was killed by the state, right? Jesus was a black man that was killed by lighter-skinned individuals. Wow, that sounds familiar. And that is hard for people to concept, because what I will say is Jesus did not exist then, but he does exist now. And you have to listen to the other one because I'm not going to get into that, right? But even if you do think about Jesus as an esoteric spiritual being, my boy Blue said that's how Jesus walked on water, was he tapped into Merkaba, right? Which would be the belief of body, spirit, and light. You know what I'm saying? He tapped into that energy, right? But I say all that to say, God is change. Change can be shaped. Change changes you, and you change the things that change. Peace.
Get the podcast is a production from the OVT Network, with original artwork by Kenzo Sturdivant and original music by Sincerely Blip. The podcast is hosted and edited by me, your friendly neighborhood Negro, JC. If you found value in anything I've said here today, please subscribe, like, share, and comment on YouTube or Instagram at the OVT Network. You can also connect with me, JC, on IG at JC from the OVT. Got to keep it simple, right? Don't forget to rate us 5 stars and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever your podcasts are casted. And lastly, did you know that if you share this podcast with just one person, we would double in size the community? So, with that being said, get to sharing, goddammit. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you listening. Peace.